Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Total War Warhammer online commentary. In this particular battle, I'm going to be playing a 2 vs 2 game. So my ally right here in the blue is going to be playing the Greenskins, and I am also playing the Greenskins. But more specifically, we're actually playing, I'm pretty sure 100% Gobbo armies. With the exception of the Giant, everything is pretty Gobbo focused. He does have some Night Goblins back here, Rusty Airs, and he's got some Squigs over here. So definitely going to be some fun stuff. So we're going to be facing off against the Warriors of Chaos as well as the Vampire Counts. So it's going to be a little tough for the Gobbos because, again, the Vampire Counts and Chaos do have quite a few units that cause terror, especially the Vampire Counts, and the Gobbos definitely have pretty poor leadership and are most certainly not immune to psychology, so this should be a pretty interesting game. And again, guys, this game actually did take place live on my stream, so if you guys want to see the live version of it, it was the, I believe, live stream number 4, and it was about 2 hours in. But if you guys look in the description of the video or in the comments, we will put the time that it took place in the live cast, and you guys can go ahead and watch it there. And this was by far one of the most entertaining, close games I've probably ever had. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and let's get right into the army compositions. So I just decided to go with the front line of Nasty Skulkers because, again, Chaos and Greenskins, or excuse me, Chaos and Vampire Counts, I figured that, Grave Guard or, kind of armored units from the Warriors of Chaos, whether that be Chaos Warriors, and even Forsaken actually have 75 armor. So the Nasty Skulkers aren't a bad choice, and they actually bring a lot of utility to the table with the, the smoke bomb. So that can kind of help to mitigate a lot of the frontline pressure and then really allow your missiles like the Rusty Airs and the Goblins to escape and, do their thing. So entire front line of Nasty Skulkers, I have the Arachnaut Queen, also a very, very good choice. The Spider Summoning is by far one of the kind of best utilities that the Greenskins have. And then I have a Night Goblin Shaman, of course, 2 Goblin Big Bosses, and a Night Goblin War Boss who's riding over here on his Majestic Squig. He's definitely ready to go. He's hopping over there, looking pretty hungry, and hopefully he can perform. On top of that, guys, I do have a front line of Forest Goblin Spider Riders here, and then I also do have Morgum's Mangy Marauders. So they have the armor-piercing missiles, which is going to be pretty good against Chaos. But more importantly, they're very good for like skirmishing with like Manticores and things like that because they do have poison. So they can actually slow down these Manticores and this Chaos Sword up here and really apply some pretty good pressure. Also, I'd like to bring these against the Vampire Count simply to pressure Mortis engines and high-value targets like that. So hopefully it'll pay off. My ally over here, he actually has a pretty dynamic army himself. So he has Nasty Skulkers mixed in with Night Goblin Fanatics. He has the Warlords Boys. He has a very dynamic kind of Gobbo roster here. He does have a Goblin Big Boss here, another one here, and I'm trying to find his Lord. It looks like he does indeed have Skarsnik, so he's definitely doing some work, hopping through the swamp. He's looking hungry as well. I guess all Squigs kind of do. So over here, he has some more Nasty Skulkers. He actually has Squig Herds, which are going to be very good. I was pretty happy he brought those because I brought a lot of like ranged pressure, and the fact that he actually brought some like kind of something that packs a punch against armor was very, very helpful here. So he has 2 Squig Herds. And then on top of that, he does have Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, which are just so awesome. They do have an anti-infantry bonus too. So against like Forsaken, they're going to do a pretty good job kind of running them down. So that's pretty much it for our armies, and let's get into our opponent's builds. So he has a Chaos Lord up here. Looks like he has a Chaos Feral Manticore. Also, the Vampires did bring a Vampire with the Lore of Death, so it looks like he does have Doom and Darkness, I believe. And then, that'll be pretty good against routing Gobbos and a Spirit Leech. So very, very cool stuff there. And what is that? So let's go ahead and pause here just for a second, guys. I actually don't recognize that icon. So what is that? So Dark Benediction. Okay, so it provides leadership. It's actually not bad. And it is Doom and Darkness, so negative 16 leadership on that. So aside from that, he does have a front line of Graveguard over here, which they do have an anti-infantry bonus. They're going to do very well against like low-tier Gobbos. He does have Skeleton Spears, also a very, very good choice because if we have Wolf Riders or Orc Boar Boy Biggins or anything like that, they're going to be very good at mitigating that threat. And also they're pretty good for like tying up the Arachnaut Queen. He does have Cryptors. He also has some Cairn Wraiths. Again, he was probably expecting a lot of Black Orcs since it's double Greenskins, but the double Gobbo catches people off guard, guys, and does pretty good. Looks like he actually brought a Necromancer. Of course, Lore of Vampires. He has Raised Dead, Invocation from the Heck, and I think that's pretty much it for the Vampire army. Over here, the Warriors of Chaos have some Halberds, so very similar type formation if you guys take a look. Graveguard in the front line to kind of, take the beating and, do their thing, and he has Chaos Warriors and then Halberds in the flanks. So both of them, very strong center line with armor piercing in the back, and then having some sort of anti-large or spear type unit in the wings to, help defend. He does have some Chaos Armored Trolls, a Hell Cannon, some Gorbis Chariots, as well as several Forsaken over here. So Forsaken are so good against Gobbos. And then on top of that, he does have Blood Knights, as well as the Red Duke with El Sif and Raised Dead. So he actually didn't bring Invocation of Nehek on the Duke, but he does have it on the Necromancer over there, so he should be fine in that respect. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into the action. So you can see the Goblin missiles right here are skirmishing, applying some really good pressure to the Chaos Sword, especially the armor-piercing one. And you can see, I believe he's poisoned. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I got to remove that combat box. But he should be poisoned from taking that Forest Goblin, kind of missile fire. But they do get a really nice charge and are able to do some good damage to some of my guys. And you can see they're shaking already. But the Goblin Big Bosses and the Squig Masters are coming in. And they're going to do a really good job because then they poison them, and you can see that Chaos Sword is just taking massive crossfire from all of these guys, and he's starting to tank. My Squig, my Night Goblin War Boss getting great damage, and the Goblin Big Boss is also very, very fast, able to kind of lock that Manticore down, and he is indeed wavering. So a very, very good situation for us so far. So our opponents do use the Doom of Darkness upgraded here, which I don't know if that was the best use, but I think he was trying to like catch these guys just to keep them from chasing his Lord, but he does pull his Lord out and gets the Potion of Toughness off, so definitely not too bad. On that same point, his Manticore does come over here, and also some of these Chaos Poison Warhounds are able to drive off some of my units, but thankfully, you know, getting some cover fire here, and just, you got to keep pathing them, because they're so darn quick, and I believe, do they fire while moving? Yeah, they do, so they're applying constant poison. This unit isn't poisoned at the moment, but, you know, hopefully they'll be able to poison it and get away, but again, I'm running back towards my ally's army here, and hopefully he'll be able to protect me from those big scary monsters. So, you can see the Doomdiver catapults applying some pressure to that Chaos Lord. We got a great initial engagement, and he is not going to heal from here. So we do have our Gobbo firing squad back here taking some pot shots because we both have the Rusty Errors, and you know, he's shaken, and this is a great start for us because the Chaos Lord is a pretty substantial threat, especially if he's on the dragon, because he has pretty heavy armor piercing. But this variant, you know, isn't bad against the Gobbos because it does cause terror, so landing, you know, will do good against big bosses and other things like that. And Doomdivers actually aren't bad at like heat-seeking flying lords, so, you know, pretty good use out of those guys. But I did switch them onto the Blood Knights here and was trying to do the best I could in that respect, and hopefully we'll be able to get this Chaos Lord down. So on the front line, my ally and I are both advancing. I kind of peel off this direction to deal with the vampire counts. Definitely a very scary proposition, because I actually decided to kind of leave my Lord and some of my heroic units back here to protect. My my ally here, very, very nice of him. He actually decided to leave the Squig Herds to help protect the siege and other things like that. So you can see my Night Goblin War Boss over here, as well as some of my missile units are coming back to try and defend, because again, we have a lot of resources here. We have 2 Doomdiver catapults, we have the third Doomdiver catapult, and then also a Hammer of Orc. So right now you can see the Squigs just getting all crunk over here going after this Feral Manticore, and it's already shaken. And these guys, you know, they're not going to be excellent against the, you know, the Feral Manticore, but they do hit pretty hard. And, you know, the Manticore isn't armored, so their damage should get through to it. And you can also see our missiles and these mobile riders just bringing a ton of utility to the table and really allowing us to mitigate the threat of a lot of those Manticores. So over in the front line, things are getting pretty scary here. You can see the Gobbos are just getting ready to charge in. The Arachnarch Queen is fighting, and this is going to be a pretty bad situation. The Banshee is going to do very, very well against the Gobbos, and is going to do an excellent job at just causing terror and routing them off. So I didn't expect my front line to last too long here, but I was hoping that, you know, I would be able to do enough to really allow my ally to shine over here. He definitely, you know, is carrying me a little bit this game so far. So over here, the Nasty Skulkers are fighting. I was able to summon some spiders right in front of these Cryptors to break their charge, which is pretty good. You know, it's just... It opens up so many things, and again, that's one of the reasons the vampire counts are so strong, is simply because you can just summon so many units and just plug them in where they're needed. And you can see Cryptors knocking some Gobbos around, but, you know, Cryptors are meant against, like, you know, heavily armored Black Orcs, and, you know, it's going to take them a while to get through fodder. And you can also see my Goblin firing line is doing a great job just peppering these guys, but the vampires do summon some zombies over here, so very tough stuff. Over here with the Warriors of Chaos, the Gobbos are engaging. We got a nice little scenic charge here with the, I believe these are De Warlord's boys. So they don't have armor piercing, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, well, actually, this is the armor sundering variant, and it brings them down to 68. And look at the damage they've taken. So I think my ally was applying some missile fire or something. I don't know how they took so much damage. Maybe it was from our Doomdivers. But you can see the Trolls are getting in here. Skarsnik's hopping in here as well. And, you know, he does have armor piercing and anti-large, so getting him on these Trolls is going to be very, very nice, guys. Also over here, we do have the Giant over here just kind of stomping the yard, doing its thing. But I believe these are Halberds. So the Halberds will do a pretty good amount of damage against this Giant here with their anti-large bonus. So very heated battle so far. Over here on the wings, the Goblin Big Boss does sneak around. These guys just went full on Mission Impossible, just going to get a little charge on these Chaos Dwarfs, and hopefully be able to do pretty well and shut it down. And it looks like they do, so we can see the Hell Cannon actually has gotten 0 kills so far. It's definitely been missing quite a bit, so my ally doing a very, very good job using the Itchy Nuisance to just kind of turn the tide here. You can see these Chaos Trolls are actually just almost routed already. These Night Goblin Fanatics are just holding up. They've used Tricksy Traps, which gives them a 16 leadership. So that's actually really nice for the Goblins. So, you know, pretty good stuff over here. But as far as the Vampire Counts battle go, it's a little bit wild. I gotta be honest here. I didn't have my heroic units. I was using them in the back to kind of mitigate this Chaos Lord and protect our siege investments. And, you know, I didn't have much leadership in the front line. So a lot of my guys are just starting to crumble here. You can see these Nasty Skulkers are having a really bad time just getting rode down by Blood Knights, which is something you definitely don't want to see, just getting lanced by these, like, elite cav. And you can see they're going flying, they're going tumbling, and these Blood Knights are having a field day. So bad day for the Gobbos, but hey, hopefully they can recover and, you know, maybe use the Smoke Bomb to, you know, slow these guys down at least. So in the back line, we're having to use spiders to kind of cover our retreat, but our missiles are getting pretty good, you know, fire here, applying some great pressure on this Necromancer, just doing tons of damage. So the Arachnarch Queen kind of senses it's weak, and we just go in and try and snipe it real quick, because getting rid of the Lore of Vampires, Invocation of Nehek, and all those zombie summons is just going to be so darn good here. So over here, some of my Nasty Skulkers, and you guys can take a look. They're actually in really good health. I have 3 full groups that just came back from routing, and it was a terror route, so hopefully they'll be able to come back shortly. So my opponent does summon some zombies here on some of these Gobbos, and this is definitely not a situation you want. But the Rusty Errors actually aren't like terrible melee combatants. They can put up a little bit of a fight, and you can see he just karate chops that zombie and does a pretty good job for himself. So hopefully they'll be able to hold. But again, you can see a second zombie summon going down, so the cooldown on that is just so darn short. that Necromancer just going full on ham. So you can see my Goblin Big Bosses as well as my Night Goblin War Boss come in here, but my opponent picks up on it really well. He gets those Crypt Horrors to just intercept, and they're just going to do an absolute beating on my Night Goblin War Boss. So I kind of baited myself in a little bit and went for that Necromancer. So definitely not a good situation. You can see the Night Goblin War Boss and his Vampire comes out of the sky. So right now, this is very dicey. My Night Goblin War Boss, if you guys take a look in here, is just completely surrounded, taking a beating. He already used his potion earlier. So, you know, again, this is a really, really tough situation. So I did use the potion of foolhardiness and also pulled into my nasty skulkers who came back from route. I did use the flash bomb here to try and slow things down and allow my guy to escape, but still, it was a very tough situation. And you can see my missiles are just being enveloped by the zombie summons. My Ragnarok Queen is quite low, and things are looking pretty grim over here. But as far as my ally over here goes, the Night Goblin Archers are in great shape, but unfortunately some Blood Knights have gotten through, and I think they're going after the Giant here, so they're going to path through some of these Goblins, you know, just ride them through, ride them down on the way to the Giant, and literally Blood Knights were designed to like slay Giants and units like that. So we tried to get them with the nasty Skulkers here, missed just a little bit. No, I missed, not my ally. And this Giant is going to fight them, but thankfully the Blood Knights only have 23 models, and they do have some Gobbos with armor piercing here, who will be able to help kind of clean them up a little bit. So you can see the Blood Knights pulling a tactical retreat here, and hopefully for my opponent, they'll be able to recover. So he does charge them into the missiles here and also pulls the Banshee. So over here in the main fight, it's going pretty well for the Gobbos actually against the Warriors of Chaos. I mean, he does have some, what is this, a Night Goblin Shaman? Yeah, so the 8 peak loonies with their 9 models. So Warlord's Boys just broke, unfortunately, but you can see the Squig Hoppers just going ham back here. And these guys are just feasting on these Forsaken. And I'd love to actually catch like an eating animation, but it's one of the coolest things by far from that, the King and the Warlord DLC is the feasting. This guy just doing a massive somersault, landing on top of that Forsaken there. So Squig's got to have some of the coolest animations by far. So anyways, enough jumping on the Squigs over here, but they're doing a pretty good job just feasting on these guys. And again, the Squig Night Hoppers over here do have an anti-infantry bonus, and they're going to do pretty well against Forsaken, who are shaken back here. And they're in great shape. These Squig herds have 30 models. These ones have 30 models. So all around a pretty good situation. So over here you can see the Chaos Warriors are kind of under a mass rout a little bit. A lot of the Chaos Warriors are breaking, especially with the, you know, kind of Squigs coming in, some nasty Skulkers coming back, and they're really going to kind of just jam in here. And the Chaos Warriors probably won't be able to hold for too long. I believe Skarsnik is still alive, and this Giant's coming back. And I also decided to kind of just forsake this engagement over here and just try and drag it out a little bit. And then I did bring my Ragnarok Queen over here. So the Ragnarok Queen in conjunction with this Giant should be more than enough to break these guys down. And you can see Doom Divers coming in, a lot of good things. You can see the Red Duke also coming over here, and he's in great shape. I'm surprised he didn't bring Invocation of the Heck on him, but still he does have Raised Dead, so that's going to be something to deal with. And you can see it looks like he's going to summon some skeletons or something here. Skarsnik's in great shape, and this is really, really nice. Skarsnik is an excellent duelist, especially against like mounted lords, because he does have that anti-large, armor piercing, and he does have poison, so it just makes him so strong. If he's able to get on the Red Duke while the Red Duke's like taking a beating from the Giant, this is going to be great. So let's go ahead and watch his HP here, and you can see Skarsnik's getting in there. He gets a little bit of a poke, does about 300 HP damage, and brings his binding to weak. So some of these Graveguard over here come over, they finally catch up with my Spider. As far as the backline goes, we're finally able to secure it. The Manticore was back there, the Chaos Sword, and now all our cannons are back online, and I still have all my missile units. So these guys have just been putting in work all game, dealing with skirmishing units, flying vampires, all that kind of stuff, and we're finally able to just about get rid of that Chaos Pharaoh Manticore. So when that's able to be so, we'll be pretty secure back here. We do have our cannons online still. The Hammer of Gork is shaken, but they're still firing, and I believe we do have some Doom Diver crews that will come back over the course of the battle. So over here in the front line, though, it's still pretty wild. You can see this Banshee over here, as well as this Vampire with the Lure of Death, are able to catch out my Gobbo out in the swamp. Definitely not the way you want to go, but he's putting up a fight. He does have some nasty Skulkers coming to help, but you can see they're wavering and definitely aren't going to be much help against the Banshee, who will probably honestly just terrify them right away. So you can see the kind of a mass rout of Gobbos right now, but this is pretty typical, especially against spooky, scary units like Cairn Wraiths. And, hopefully they'll be able to come back and not get driven off the battlefield. So we still do have the Ragnarok Queen over here just doing pretty good against these Graveguard. Obviously, these Graveguard aren't going to do much against the heavy 150 armor of the Queen. Because if you look at their armor piercing damage, let's go ahead and get in here and take a look. It's pretty low. It's only 7, so they're not going to be able to do much, but the Cairn Wraiths actually do have armor piercing, so if they get in here, they might be able to do pretty well against them. Over here, you can see the Squig herds just charging in here, just going absolutely ham, just feasting, and it's a pretty nice combination that my ally brought, bringing the Hoppers with their anti-infantry and then the regular Squig herds with their armor piercing. They're going to do a pretty good job melting through, most units that don't have like an anti-large bonus essentially. So, you guys have seen how strong the Squig herds as well as kind of the Squig type units are against dwarves and kind of armored infantry. So on that same coin, they should do pretty well against all these Graveguard over here. So he does still have the Giant that's fighting, but unfortunately the Giant is getting surrounded by Crypt Horrors. You can see that it's poisoned. It's speed down to 29. So it's probably not going to get away from these guys, but the Red Duke did take an absolute beating from it early, and also the Skarsnik was able to get some good attacks. So if we're able to kill the Red Duke, I think we might be able to turn this around. It was very, very tough. He's very quick, but the Ragnarok Queen gets in there. Let's see if she's able to make some contact. So he has about 900 HP right now, and it looks like an attack animation taking another 300 HP from him. But the Warriors of Chaos did have some units come back, some halberds, which is really, really bad for the Arachnon Queen because, again, they do have armor piercing and anti-large, so all of that is going to do pretty well. And you can see Skarsnik shooting his lance over here. Not his lance, what's that called? I think it's called the Prodder or something like that. But he shoots it at the Red Duke and is trying to get it down. But still, you know, a lot of our enemies' units are coming back, and you can see all these guys. But thankfully, the Goblin missile units, we actually ran out of ammunition, so we were just starting to use them just to rear charge like halberds, which is on paper just terrible. But at this point, we were getting really desperate. So just pulling out, cycle charging as much as we could, just trying to provide as much, you know, kind of backbone here to our giants and big units that are just completely surrounded now. So many of our opponents' units, Cairn Wraiths, Zombies, Crypt Horrors, Graveguard, just so many things surrounding our big units. You can see the giant is still steady. He does have Tricksy Traps and Stand Your Ground, so he's getting plus 32 leadership right now. So, and even with that, he's only steady. So that's a pretty bad, you know, kind of omen for us. But we do have these Goblin Big Bosses coming back, as well as a third one, and we're just hunting the Red Duke. It's very, very important to get him, and you can see he does summon another group of zombies back here, right on top of this kind of whole kind of epicenter of the battle, and it does kind of trap our Goblin Big Bosses, which is a little bit scary. You can see Big Papa Skarsnik over here just kind of doing his thing, fighting, you know, against Graveguard and Banshees and all sorts of units. And him and Goblet here are doing a pretty good job. And I think Goblet just ate a skeleton or a Graveguard or something like that. But still, you know, putting up a good fight. And he's actually surprisingly resilient. But the Banshees are pretty good duelists, and, you know, it's not a good situation to be in. So we do have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders coming back over here. The Morgrumps and Mangy Marauders, who are all out of ammunition, like I mentioned earlier. Some Skulkers coming back. But in the back line, we're completely secure now, which is great. Because, again, even if, like, we lose that battle, we can simply, like, fall back a little bit, and then our cannon crews can continue to shoot. So unfortunately, this Doom Diver is about to run out of ammunition, but we have one here that has about half ammunition, and another one here that's also around half. So that's a very, very good situation, kind of, you know, for the remainder of this battle. So we're continuing to fight. You can see the Rusty Arrows and some of these other Goblin missiles are coming back, and they have great ammunition because they got routed off pretty early. Unfortunately, they are shooting through trees, but still, they're doing a great job with the, you know, kind of the armor sundering against these Chaos Warriors here, bringing them down to 60. But the Chaos Warriors still do have, you know, silver shield, so they're going to do okay, but still, they are wavering due to that missile fire, which is great. You can see Gobbos flying in from the skies, and we did kind of get broken up there, but if you look at all of our opponent's forces, they're extremely tattered. Like, everything is really tattered. We still have the 2 Doom Divers shooting, we have some Goblin missiles, and we have a lot of units that are kind of, you know, routing and coming back, re-engaging, and it's just a very, very atrocious battle, which is great. I mean, these are some of the, this is what Total War Warhammer should be. Just kind of these wild, just big, messy fights, and it's very, very exciting stuff. So we do have some nasty Skulkers coming back in the swamps. They're going to, you know, put up a pretty good fight, and actually, you know, on paper, they'll trade very well with halberds, because again, halberds are meant against, you know, single, large targets, and they're not going to get a substantial or any bonuses really against these kind of hordes of light units that just happen to have armor piercing. So pretty good situation for us. We should be able to push off these Chaos Warriors here in just a moment. You can see they're down to 15 models, and their leadership is rapidly tanking as they're getting prison shanked by all these nasty Skulkers. Unfortunately for us, you know, there is quite a bit of army losses and things like that, so our Skulkers are shaken, but we do have some some Goblin Cavalry. Definitely not meant as cav, but they're going to come in and do a pretty good job of, like, riding down these Warriors of Chaos and applying some good pressure. And you can see we're kind of using them just to, like, chase down some of these units here as they flee off the battlefield. So back here on that same coin, we're just trying to find weaknesses in units that are isolated that we can get and just rear charge. And you can see the Sternsmen are crumbling, so this is great. And I believe we did kill the Red Duke. I'm not sure where he went. Let's go ahead and zoom out, see if we can find him. And I think we did kill him, and that's why a lot of the Vampire Count army is indeed dissipating. So very, very good close battle. The Graveguard over here, he has some halberds. Not much left, though, to be honest, guys. But the Vampire player, unfortunately, does have a Vampire with the Lure of Death up here. So he still has a heroic unit flying around. He is taking some missile fire, which is pretty great. And you can see its HP tanking very rapidly. So 1 or 2 volleys from the Rusty Arrows and these Night Goblin Archers are not only poisoning it, but have done about 600 or 700 HP of damage just sitting here shooting for, you know, maybe 10 or 15 seconds. So, you know, that's great, because if we're able to kill off his leadership, then a lot of his other units are going to start to crumble. Thankfully, we do get this giant coming back, guys. We have this Banshee chasing away some of these Gobbos. We still have so many, but they're shattered. That was very painful to see. Just to see 80 or, you know, 82 models shattered like that, definitely very, very depressing. So we do have these missiles, but this Vampire is swooping in here doing his thing. You can see the Doom Divers coming in and just taking pot shots at it. So it's just an absolutely wild engagement. And you can see he's surrounded by the Gobbos, and the Forest Goblin Spider Riders are getting in there, but that Banshee just comes in and just keeps terrifying our units and just chasing them off. So definitely a bummer there, and let's go ahead and take a look. So this Banshee is crumbling, or not the Banshee, excuse me. The Banshee actually is weak binding, but the Vampire with the Lure of Death actually is starting to stabilize, which is pretty unfortunate. It has 81 HP, 70 HP. You can see the Doom Divers in the sky trying to shoot it down. Very, very wild situation, and hopefully this one can get it. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, it looks like she falls, but the Doom Diver actually follows her to the grave, and she falls into the swamp where she belongs. So over here, the Banshee's still in good binding though, and this is very scary because if you guys take a look at the overhead, we have the Hammer of Gork crew over here. We have some nasty Skulkers that are shattered. I mean, all we pretty much have left are cannon crews. We have some Doomdiver cannon crews here. We have the Hammer of Gork cannon crew, and let's see, they have 24 weapon strength. As far as our opponents go, yeah, we actually do have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders. These guys are all shattered though. These Night Goblins, the Rusty Arrows, are shattered probably due to army losses. So over here we do have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders, which we're using to just chase down the Warriors of Chaos because they're only broken. That Doomdiver definitely not being very useful there. Definitely the true Gobbo way to just, shoot down your own buddies on the way to, killing your opponents, of course. But we're just chasing down these broken units, trying our best to kill them because, again, we want to just trigger army losses and try and get that as much as we can. So you can see we switched the Doomdivers to just close range bombing of this Banshee, which has 544 HP, which isn't a lot. So we're hoping that our cannon crews can get in there. You can see they're all about to run out of ammunition, so they're just going to have to go fisticuffs with this Banshee, which is so tough. So right now the Banshee's coming in here, it's just going ham. The Gobbos are just going to engage and try and push her back just to allow those Doomdivers to continue to nuke her. But to be honest, I mean, the Doomdivers are probably doing way more damage to us. You can see our Gobbos are just getting crushed here, which was really tough, but we just wanted to keep it away. We did do a little bit of HP damage, down to 351, so I think that trade was worth it. You can see its leadership is starting to wane. So right now you can see our cannon crews in here. Let's go ahead and get some nice slow motion battling. They're just coming out. They got their prison shanks, and this is pretty much it, guys. There's literally nothing left on the battlefield. It's just come down to a Banshee versus Doomdiver cannon crews, which is just by far one of the most epic, kind of ends of a battle here. But you can see our Forest Goblin Spider Riders actually shatter there. They're riding off the battlefield, and there's so many. There's 24. And look at all these Gobbos here, 66 with ammunition. If they would just come back and help, this would be very, very, one-sided right now. But the Banshee continuing to fight. It's starting to crumble, which is great. Again, running and turning its back. It's probably triggering an attack in the rear here, but our Gobbo crews are shaken, wavering, but they're still fighting, and this Banshee is down to 150 HP, just absolutely insane. But, we're just basically crumbling versus our leadership right now, and thankfully they're staying at shaken. They have 23 leadership, they're not going down too fast, and thankfully they're not getting terrified, and the Banshee does indeed die. So the Gobbo crews, look at this guy cheering. He knows they just won an epic battle. They were able to pull it out, which was just absolutely insane. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. So again, guys, that game was live on my stream, so the live stream number 4. Someone in the comments or myself, we'll go ahead and put you a link to the live game, and there was a lot of great, ridiculous commentary in that, so, and the live variant, of course. But again, I just wanted to give this one its own cast. It was just so good that it just needed to be shared. So I hope you guys agree with that sentiment. As far as the army goes, I mean, it's pretty hard to do analysis, but, the Morgrim's Mangy Marauders did good, Spider Queen did good, but honestly, my army just got dumpstered by the vampire count, so I kind of just threw them to the dogs, left my lords in the back, and, when I brought my Night Goblin Warboss forward and got, Shadow of Mordor did a really good job pulling his Cryptors and focusing down my lord. I believe he actually used Elseef too, I'm not sure, because I wasn't able to get out of there, and I was just taking a beating, so really well played on his part. I just kind of ran over to my ally and just was like, all right, man, carry me. Let's do this. So well played to Nano Mashos, to Shadow of Mordor, and Grinning Moon. Everyone did so good, and that was just a super fun game. So again, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that 2v2. And I'll be streaming again every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if any of you guys missed the stream, tune in then, and we'll be doing some fun stuff. So thanks again for watching, guys, and have an excellent night.